Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live, or if I put a video out, you'll be notified, and it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you're subscribed, thank you. If you want to help support my channel, in the description box below, very top link, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. And once again, I thank you in advance. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants to Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,800 members in the group. It is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants to Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there next Tuesday. So, well, what we got about? Here in South Jersey, we got about 36 minutes, right, till Friday. So we have Friday, we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? We got 5 days until the rookies have to show up for training camp, right? And then the following Tuesday, that's when everybody's in. So we got pretty much 5 days, and stuff is off and running. You know, it's in the next following Tuesday that everybody else shows up, and then boom, another season of football is upon us. What's going to happen? Who knows, right? Who knows? But I don't know. I just that's pretty much my life, blood. It's I'm just haven't seen the Knicks win the championship since '73, so that's about 50 years. Haven't seen the Mets win the World Series since '86. That's about 40 years. That's about 90 years between the two. Haven't seen the Rangers win the Stanley Cup in 30 years. That's 120 years. Haven't seen Notre Dame's that's my team. Haven't seen them win a national. I've seen them win 3 national championships from '73 to '88. So in 15 years, I've seen them win 3. I was alive in '66 when they tied for the national championship, but I was only 2 years old at the time. But I did actually see them win 3 in 15 years. But it's been almost 40 years since they've won. So between the Rangers, the Mets, the Knicks, and Notre Dame, there's 160 years. Okay, that I'm just waiting around, growing older, waiting for some type of a miracle to happen. Okay, which I don't know if it's ever going to happen ever again. So, pretty much, I do watch Notre Dame now. Okay, but the Mets, the Knicks, and the if they're good, okay, great. But I'm growing old with a cane, and getting ready to get in a wheelchair and all that, watching and waiting for those guys to win another. So football is my lifeline, right? So once we got football going on, it's right. Let's get some excitement going on. And usually even the Giants think usually Notre Dame's pretty good. Of course they don't win any national championships, but usually they're pretty good. So usually I got something to get excited about anyway. But regardless, this time is everybody's 0-0. You know what? I tell you what, the offensive line holds up, and Malik Neighbors got like 180 passes, and I'll tell you, defense comes on, and we can do some damage. So everybody's got some of those thoughts going on, But it's just nice to have another season of football, just this far, this close, right? Isn't it nice, huh? But one of the things I saw, right, is obviously the Giants can't go big time as far as spending, right, with the free agency moves. But there's an article here. The problem is, I don't know, a couple of these guys, as we see, Will Hernandez here, right? A couple of these guys are guards, and we have like 37,000 guards. We got a lot of guys on the offensive line. Obviously, not everybody's making the team. Not everybody's making the the practice squad and all that stuff. So some guys are going to go bye bye, right? But um, it shows in this article, some guys, right? Once again, I don't even know how many big time free agent guys are still out there. You know what I mean? Especially big dollar wise, right? But I mean, the Giants don't have a lot of money. I mean, they could certainly free up some money to get some money, but I'm not really sure. If they're going to be bringing anybody else in. Um, we got a young team, got a lot of young guys. We brought in some guys. We drafted some guys. We got a lot of young guys, and if you believe in what you're doing, if Shane believes in what he's doing, right, and if we, if Dart can, be a good quarterback, you know, I like the young team approach. You're gonna go through some bumps and valleys, and you're gonna get some good, you're gonna get some bad, but you have a young team together. It's exciting. It's very, very exciting. Of course, a lot of it also has to depend upon if do we have our quarterback of the future, right? But in this one article here, they got a few guys here they're talking about. One of them, of course, is JPP. Yeah. It was kind of like the same thing like with OBJ and JPP, right? I mean, if you can get guys if you get them on the team, I mean, that would certainly create some excitement and all of that. Maybe put a few more butts in the stand, especially OBJ. If we had him on, I got him back here. Of course, he's kind of a shell of his former self with all the injuries he's had, and got drafted in 2014, so he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not going to take a slant pattern and just blow past the whole thing. That's not happening anymore. You know what I mean? But I mean, it would certainly create some excitement. At JPP, obviously, would create some excitement as well too. But is he better than what we have? I don't really know. Especially with JPP. But this article here, this is from Big Blue View. The Giants' first round pick in the 2010 NFL Draft is 36 and did not play last year, but still wants to play and believes he would be dope to finish his career with the Giants. No, I mean, obviously for me, if he wanted to come in and sign a one-day contract to retire as a Giant, absolutely, man. Bring him in. Absolutely. Same thing with OBJ. I'd be on the phone with them. Right, I understand, blah, 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 all that stuff and everything, but right now we're just not looking for you. We got some young guys we brought in, so we're just not, whatever the situation, whatever he wants, however nice you got to, things you got to say, right? But, if you ever want to come and sign a one-day contract to retire as a Giant, you give me a call, and we'll have it here the next day for you. We'll fly you in and everything, right? We'll hold hands. We'll dance the Macarena and everything. OBJ or JPP. If you want, are you going to retire? If you want to retire a Giant, you let us know, and we'll have the paperwork all signed up for you. You come in, we'll fly you in the next day. You sign it, you retire a Giant, right? But Jamie, he not only didn't play last season, but the year before, I think he played just 3 games. Hasn't had a sack, I think, since like 2022 or something along those lines. And actually in 2023, when he did play in 3 games, I think it was Miami, New Orleans or something like that. I mean, if you can't hang on for more than 3 games with like 2 different teams, I mean, it's like, and this is 2 years later. I mean, sometimes, sometimes it's just, I mean, like, things just sometimes, you just get too old. Even Lyle Alzado, he retired. He tried to come back a couple of years after he retired. It just wasn't the same. He's old, not old. He's in his 30s, but I'm old. Right? To me, 36 ain't old. 36, man. If I was 36, woo, boy, I would love it. But but in football age, 36, she's old. I mean, I said if he wasn't able to play last season, What makes you think he's going to come in and outperform what the Giants kind of have right now? Right. JPP is, of course, a unique individual. The fact that he can compile 52.5 of his 94.5 career sacks after losing 2.5 fingers in the July 4th, 2015 fireworks accident is evidence of that. So that was 10 years ago. He has only 5.5 sacks since 2021. And he did not have any in 6 games for New Orleans Saints and the Dolphins. So it was 6 games. I thought it was just 3. Okay. So he played in 2023, he played for 6 games, grand total for the Saints and the Dolphins. Giants with Burns, Carter, Kayvon, Chauncey Golston, right? As championship Giants teams of the past have proven, though, a team can never have enough pass rushers. Would there be room on the roster for JPP? Would it be worth bringing him in for training camp on a non-guaranteed contract to see if he has anything left? Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, if you brought him in, right, as part of the 90, you get some excitement, that's for sure. You get a bunch of people showing up to training camp, and I mean, the fans and all that, with some excitement and everything like that. Absolutely, sure. Then they go back to Gabe Davis. Now, this one's kind of interesting, right? Because he was here, couldn't get anything done. Now, whatever, I don't know what the reason is, and a lot of times you're never going to find what the reason was, right? Was it money? What was it? Don't know, right? So, but they had him here. The former Bill and Jacksonville Jaguar wide receiver visited Giants mid-May. Right, so we're talking about 2 months ago. Since that time, Davis has visited the Steelers and the Saints, but remains unsigned. Now, what is the problem? Don't know. 6'2", 225 pounds. So he's a nice size. He's not 6'5", he's not 5'10". He's in the middle, but 225. That's a solid dude right there. Davis is, of course, already well known to the Giants general manager Joe Shane and Coach Dable. Shane was the assistant GM in Buffalo when Davis was drafted, and Dable was the offensive coordinator when Davis caught 70 passes for 13 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. Davis is coming off a disappointing season in Jacksonville where he caught just 20 passes in 9 games before landing on the IR with a torn meniscus. The Jaguars, with a new GM and head coach, released Davis after just 1 season of a 3-year, $39 million contract. Wow. Torn meniscus is perhaps the reason Davis is yet to sign. Teams could be waiting to sign him until Davis passes a physical and is cleared to practice. So, there you go. Could the Giants still bring Davis to New York? They want to be a more vertical offense, and Russell Wilson, Jameson Winston, and Jackson Dart, they have quarterbacks suited to that downfield style. Now, once again, he's just a baby. 26, right? As a career average, 16.2 yards per reception. So you're not getting somebody who's going to put up 80 receptions a season. That ain't happening. But 16.2 yards of reception, that'll get your eyes open, right? More than any other Giant receiver at 16.2 yards, even more than Darius Slayton. With 5 undrafted free agent, we got a lot of undrafted free agent rookies. Oh yeah, we have 5 on the free agent rookie receivers on a 90-man roster. The Giants seem interested in creating competition for wide receiver roster spots. If healthy, Davis' resume indicates he would not only be a favorite for a roster spot should the Giants sign him, but could push third-year wide receiver, yes, Jalen Hyatt, for a role as the Giants' 4th receiver. Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe, if he, I guess maybe he hasn't passed the physical. Maybe, if he passes a physical, maybe, the Giants maybe did, hey, give us a call. Right? Because that's another one of those things. It's like, right? Got Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, probably Jalen Hyatt. So that's your Fab 4. Who's going to be? Is it Emir Smith-Marset with his return capabilities? Because you got to have. You just can't have 6 or 7. No, we're just wide receivers. We don't do nothing. No. once you get after the Fab Four or whatever like that, you guys got to start being contributors on other things. You're just not going to have a guy standing on the sideline being the seventh string wide receiver drinking Kool-Aid all day and just not, that's all. I don't do nothing else. I just stand here and wait for six guys in front of me to get injured, and then I go and play. No, that's not happening. So Emir Smith Marset is, very eye appealing, shall we say, right? Because he does both. Bryce Ford Wheaton, right, special teamer, has not really been able to scratch out or get much a role or a role period as far as a wide receiver, but he plays special teams. So that we're going to remain to see. Do they keep 6 wide receivers? Do they keep 7? So we do have the Fab, quite bottom of the Fab Four, right? So is it going to be Amir Smith Marset and 1 or 2 other guys? Who are those guys going to be? I mean, once again, especially these undrafted free. I mean, unless one of them goes out there and just starts running around like OBJ, just jumping up and catching everything with 2 fingers, chances are they better start excelling on the special teams and wide receiver. But the thing was, in minicamp and OT, all that stuff where you can't touch anybody, you can't look at nobody, you can't breathe in their direction, you can't do nothing. There's no special teams, right? There's no gunners running down the field and tackling guys or the gunners and the guys trying to hold up, jam the gunners. None of that going on, right? So now once training camp, this is where the rubber starts hitting the road, right? This is when we can start finding out about some of these possibly these undrafted rookie free agent wide receivers that the Giants have. Can any of them produce enough on the second and third string wide receivers? But can any of them, pop open a few eyeballs when it comes to special? Dude, this guy runs down the field. Damn. He's making tackles. Or this guy seems like a pretty good punt returner. Or this guy, so this is where the special team starts coming in at, right? But because you couldn't tell any of that, with OTAs and minicamp and everything. So, but Davis would not be expensive. He's coming off of an injury, so who knows? Brandon Sheriff. Now, of course, this name keeps popping around. So he's 33 years old, though, so quite possibly, as I said, here his last Pro Bowl was 2021. He is still, though, one of the best pass-blocking guards in the NFL. For Pro Football Focus, Sheriff's 98.6 pass-blocking efficiency rating was second among 56 qualifying guards last season. Wonder why he's still not signed. In 625 pass-blocking snaps, he did not allow a sack. Whoa. As a run blocker, Sheriff ranked just 40th among 49. So his run blocking was a little, maybe that's the reason why he hasn't been signed. But pass blocking, phenomenal. Sheriff has always been and still is a better player than the 35-year-old Greg Van Roten of the Giants, unless the Giants are trying to clear a lane for Evan Neal. Now, we got a bunch of guys, right, who are, trying to battle it out for that right guard position. So we'll have to wait and see. Who even freaking knows? Who knows? Marcus Bowe might be one of them, too. Who knows, right? So we'll have to wait and see. But all right, then they talk, guard, right guard. They talk Brandon Sheriff, right? Then now they're talking guard, Will Hernandez, right? Giants 2018 second-round pick. I mean, basically, he was darn near almost a freaking first-round pick. He was picked 34, right? Because we picked second, right? Saquon was second, so we picked that 33. We picked 34, so 30. I mean, he was a darn near almost a first-rounder too. So he got picked early. So you're always kind of hoping and envisioning, we got. Will Hernandez, our guard, he'll be opening up holes for Saquon for years to come. And, of course, that never happened. But let's see. After leaving the Giants, he left the Giants for free agency for the Cardinals. Then he was in his 4 seasons. Hernandez, who turns 30 in September, played just 5 games last season after suffering a torn ACL. That is perhaps why he still remains unsigned. Drafted as a left guard, Hernandez has played right guard since 2021. Like Sheriff, if he is healthy, Hernandez would appear to provide an upgrade for the Giants. Of course, he is 3 years younger than Sheriff and would theoretically have a longer runway as a productive player. Signing Hernandez might make more sense than signing Sheriff. Again, the team believe in Evan Neal as a guard and perhaps in rookie fifth-round pick Marcus Bowe would be factors in why the Giants might not sign Hernandez or Sheriff. Then he finally have here safety Kevon Wallace. third safety Dane Belton has been had a productive spring, but he's not been able to lock down a full-time role in the secondary over his first 3 NFL seasons. Well, he's been a backup. And if Kevon Wallace came in, he would be a backup. Giants could use depth at safety. Yes, they could. That they could. If they could, hey, and if they got somebody a solid, another safety, another solid, I mean, that would really be good. But you don't know. I mean, some of these guys don't want to come in and be, sometimes beggars can't be choosy. It's like, well, the only team that wants me is the Giants. I'm going to be a backup. I don't want that, but if I want to play football this year, if I want to make some money this year, I guess I got to sign with. But some guys just want to, they want to be a starter. They think they should be a starter, whatever. And if they came here, they're not going to be a starter. Let's see. Giants could use depth at safety behind Holland and Newman. There aren't any there aren't any proven players they talk about. Well, I mean, to me, Belton is maybe not so much proven, but the guy has some problems, okay? But the guy's also a ball hawk too. He's around the football. He makes things happen. In a short amount of time he's played, he's had about a short amount of snaps and everything he's played. He has like 9 or 10 turnovers between recovered fumbles and interceptions. Anthony Johnson, a 2023 7th-round pick by the Packers, missed the entire spring with an apparent shoulder injury. He played just 21 defensive snaps for the Giants last season anyway. Raheem Lane is a former undrafted free agent who's played just 13 games in 3 seasons with the Chargers and the Giants. During that time, Lane has suffered a pair of significant knee injuries, a torn ACL and a torn meniscus. He finished last season on the IR. Makari Page is an undrafted free agent rookie out of Michigan. Giants had Wallace in for a 2-day tryout during mandatory minicamp. Wallace was a 4th-round pick by the Eagles in 2020. The 27-year-old has played 71 regular season games with 19 starts for the Eagles, Cardinals, Titans, and Seahawks. So, one thing is for sure, right? Absolutely for sure, is that, the 90 guys we got on the roster now ain't going to be the 90 guys in whatever. In a month or so from now. It's like the stock market. It goes, meaning it changes. It just constantly changes. So got hurt. So-and-so's got knocked out. We let this guy go. We brought this guy in. Let that guy go. Brought this guy back. It's you really, you need a pen and paper just to keep up with all the transactions. I mean, it's crazy. So, could something happen? Absolutely, sure. Especially, things happen. I hate bringing up the I word, injuries, but it's the New York Football Giants, and of course, we know injuries and the New York Giants go hand in hand. Can't have a season without a ton of injuries for the Giants, right? So, hey, I don't want to, but if something were to happen to any of our safeties, anything, somebody, comes up lane, pulls a hamstring or something like that, right? We might pick the phone up and start calling some of these guys. Who knows? But as far as the offensive linemen, we got a ton of offensive linemen. I really think they want to see what Bo can do and what Neal can do. Especially like after because after the season, we want to maybe start trying to make some type of decision, right? Are we going to keep Neal? Right? If we keep him, is he going to be a guard? Can Bo play a tackle? Right? After the season's over, if Shane's still around, they got to sit back, roll up a fatty, light that mofo up, and say, what do we need for the offensive line? As we got all kinds of stuff, right? We got I think we got John Runyon, I think, for 4 years. So I think we got him for 3 more. But Andrew Thomas, can that guy stay healthy? Is he going to be able to play more than 5, 6, 7 games with us this year? Or is every year something else going to happen? If something happens every year, we might have to draft a left tackle. We got John Runyon Jr. I mean, of course, he comes to the Giants, and this is the first time I think he's ever in his pro career, I think, been injured. Wasn't injured when he was with the Packers. He played 35 trillion snaps at the Packers. Never even got jock itch. Comes to the Giants, he gets injured. Had his separated shoulder. I think he played a lot. It was separated shoulder or something. I mean, so tough dude. But and then John Michael Schmitz. This will be his 3rd season. You draft a center in the 2nd round. You really like to see some. He's got it up here. He's tough. He's all this stuff and everything. But he's been a little bit of a disappointment. Can he take another step forward this year? Right. And once again, do we have our right guard of the future? Is it going to be Evan Neal? Right. Who's our tackle going to be? Because this is our last season for Luminor. We can certainly bring him back, but do we want to keep bringing back a guy who's in his 30s to play our right tackle, or do we want to draft somebody? So there's a lot of things to look at after this season's over with the offensive line. So, all right, and this one here. Now, I always love this. Absolutely love this. The tight end I mean, these guys. The Skittle Man, Mike Kelsey, Olsen, Greg Olsen. They started this whatever it was years ago, and I tell you what, this is really, really a good idea. You're just bringing in all the guys, all the tight ends from around. I can't say everybody's involved. I don't know, but. You're just sharing stories and just talking about different things, maybe how to stay healthy and its proper way to eat and all that stuff, and how to train and how to run routes and, watching film and stuff like that. And I say, this guy does this, you want to do that, and, so that's it's like 3 days, I think it is. Absolutely fantastic idea. Really, I wish almost every position group should do something like that. But now, with Fedoni, now he got a little bit of love thrown his way from Mr. Kelsey. But, I don't want to throw any water on the fire here, but I do think, if I do remember correctly, I think Bellinger, I don't remember if it might have been the Skittle Man, might have been Kittles, gave Bellinger some love. It was either him or it was one of the K's, Kelsey or Kittles, Kelsey or Kittle. Gave Bellinger some love. I might have been his rookie season. Said something about Bellinger. I think real like him. I think, so and it was like, wow. A couple of years ago, I was like, wow, all right, maybe we got ourselves a steal here, Bellinger. Where is he? Rookie year looked like, maybe we might have a decent tight end there. Okay. And then 2nd year with Waller, right? Bellinger kind of just disappeared, because Waller was the main man. But then last year, Theo Johnson came in. Bellinger's on the side. So I don't know. But, just because they're praising Fedoni, they did say he's very athletic and all that. And one thing to be sure is that the Giants, with their tight ends, they draft athletic human beings. Okay. Big, 6'5" or taller, whatever. Athletic human beings. But it's nice to hear, nice things, right? Especially about our team. But let's see, Giants rookie Thomas Fedoni draws praise from Travis Kelsey at Tight End University. All 4 New York Giant tight ends, Johnson, Bellinger, Manhertz, and Fedoni, participated in the annual Tight End University founded by Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, and Greg Olsen. Fedoni, a rookie 7th-round draft pick, caught the eye of Kelsey, a 7-time All-Pro, who is 3rd in career receptions by a tight end with 1,004 and 4th in receiving yards with 12,151. My goodness. Wow. I got some pretty cool compliments from Kelsey just out of the blue, which was pretty cool. Fedoni told KETV. He told me I was extremely athletic and moved extremely well. He told me that my timing routes were really good. Just being able to hear that from him was cool. Fedoni called the experience awesome and a great opportunity. With 3 experienced tight ends ahead of him on the 90-man roster, Fedoni will have to fight to earn a roster spot on the 53-man roster. If he earns one, could it come at the expense of Bellinger, who drew praise from Kittle after a tell? There you go. Okay, here it says it in the article there. Could it come at the expense of Bellinger, who drew praise from Kittle? It was Kittle then, okay, after attending tight end university in 2023. So it was his second season. He went to tight end university. Maybe his rookie season he didn't go. But in his second season, Bellinger went to tight end university and drew some praise from Kittle. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Oh, man, Bellinger, all right, baby, here we go. We got a good tight end here. Maybe we still do. I don't know, but he's not the starter. So, all right, then. But one thing Fedoni does talk about, too, is that Matt Rule, right? He was being maybe this close to being our coach, right? Till he made that infamous stop, I believe, right, in Carolina. He was coming up from the south, and he stopped in Carolina, I guess it was, or he plane stopped in Fairway, and they wouldn't let him go. They offered him a contract, $300 trillion a season. And he picked the phone up and said, hey, look, they offered me a contract, $300 trillion a season. You want to match that? If you want to match that, I'm going to sign here. So Mr. Mara said, yeah, we good. Click. Of course, then we signed Joe Judge, or Gettleman signed Joe Judge. But so Matt Rule stayed in South Carolina, and we got Joe Judge. And the rest is history. But at least the first time that we did go up against Matt Rule and the Panthers, we wound up beating them. And I remember Mr. Mara was very happy about that. Of course, that was one of our few wins. But anyway. But Fedoni does praise Matt Rule. He says Matt Rule was the biggest reason he's NFL ready. After an adversity-filled college career, the former Husker tight end credits Rule as the driving force behind his NFL readiness. In a recent interview with an Omaha TV news station, New York Giants rookie and former Nebraska tight end Thomas Fedoni II, didn't hesitate when asked what best prepared him for the NFL. I would say the biggest thing would be Coach Rule, Fedoni said, crediting his former head coach Matt Rule as a key figure in his development. The offense and the mindset that he brought definitely helped the transition. Coming out of high school, Fedoni was considered a can't-miss prospect, ranked as the number 1 tight end in the 2021 recruiting class and a consensus top 50 prospect nationally. He was Nebraska's highest-rated commit in over a decade. Yeah, Nebraska, it's weird, I'll tell you, man. Nebraska, growing up in the 70s and even obviously in the 80s and all of that, Nebraska football was big. I mean, I remember watching them. Of course, I like Notre Dame. I think it was the 71 or 72 Orange Bowl, one of them. Because the 73, Notre Dame was in the Sugar Bowl, and we beat Alabama. But 72, it was 71 or 72, the Orange Bowl. They had Johnny Rodgers. Nebraska just killed 40-6, just straight up killed them. I mean, Nebraska was just good. I mean, in the 70s, they were good. The 80s, they were really, and even in the 90s, they were good. But I'll tell you what, the past 10, it's weird. The past 10, 15 seasons, Nebraska is just, it's like, where did they go? Weird. Really, really weird. The Council Bluffs native had a rare blend of athleticism, size, and receiving ability, drawing comparisons to elite pass-catching tight ends at the NFL level. But almost immediately after arriving in Lincoln, Fedoni's road became anything but smooth. A torn ACL in the spring of 2021 sidelined him for the majority of his true freshman season. Just as he worked his way back, a second knee injury. I mean, it's unbelievable. I really feel bad for these guys. A second knee injury in 2022 delayed his development yet again. 2 years into his college career, the nation's top tight end recruit had only appeared in one game. Wow. As the injuries piled up, so did the frustration, not just for Fedoni, but for fans and media who who wondered if Nebraska would ever be able to fully unlock his potential. Whether it was injuries or play calling, many felt he was underutilized during his time as a Husker. Still, after prayer and dedication, Fedoni never wavered in his commitment to the program, a resilience that would eventually pay off. After two frustrating injury-riddled seasons, Fedoni finally found his footing once Matt Rule and his staff arrived in Lincoln. Right? In Rule's first year at the helm, Fedoni stepped into a more prominent role, catching 25 passes, 260 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So basically, 1 out of every 6 receptions was a touchdown. 2023, the most touchdown grabs by a Husker tight end in over a decade. He followed that up with an even stronger 2024 campaign, hauling in 36 passes for 373 yards and ranking 4th on the team in receptions. More than just the numbers, Fedoni looked like the dynamic pass catcher many envisioned when he signed out of Lewis Central, Iowa. Nebraska's offensive scheme under Rule gave him opportunities to line up across the formation, attack mismatches, and become a consistent outlet for quarterbacks. For a player who spent years climbing back from injuries, Rule's arrival marked a turning point that helped him unlock his potential. With a career in the midst of an era where the transfer portal became the norm, Fedoni's decision to stay in Nebraska is somewhat remarkable. Between mismanagement on offense, consecutive seasons on ACL injuries, and multiple coaching changes, Fedoni never entered the portal. He stuck with the program that believed in him first, even when his path to the field, let alone the NFL, was anything but guaranteed. That loyalty and mental toughness are now paying off. Fedoni not only emerged as a leader for the Huskers late in his career, but also proved to NFL scouts that he could battle through adversity. That unwavering belief in his journey has led him to the next level. Now, one thing I said, you look at his RAS score, it's over 9. Once again, phenomenal. He's very, he's just like long. He's 6'5", 6'6". He's tall. He's got long arms. Right? So he's got his work cut out for him. But they drafted him. I'd be hard pressed to see them putting him on the practice squad. I'm not so sure about that. But it's somebody to certainly keep an eye on. That's for sure. As of right now, what we're looking at is hopefully Theo comes back and he's okay, and he'll be the starter. Manhurts will be in there. Maybe small pass catching opportunities here and there for him, right? But he's going to be mainly the blocker, right? See if Bellinger can carve out a role for himself. But one thing, certainly keep an eye on Fedoni. Always pull for that guy, right? And hopefully these freaking ACL injuries are in the past. Hopefully he never has to worry about that. But coming to the Giants in MetLife Stadium, we've seen some ACL injuries, haven't we? Yeah. Now, another little interesting little tidbit here, right? This is something that Plexico Burris had talked about. Chimes in on the Waller trade. Now, this was something that somebody else had brought up as well, too, right? Something that Plexico kind of seems to think that, might have happened with Waller, right? Quite a possibility here that, he just may not have wanted to play for the Giants. Now, you got to give Waller a lot of credit. While he was here, the things he said, didn't sound anything was bad, wrong. Anything he said to reporters or all like that or whatever, at the time he was here, right? Now, of course, he was on somebody's podcast and he was complaining that he was like in the backfield. He didn't say this while he was with the Giants. He waited, he's waited a year or two, whatever, after he left the Giants to wind up opening up and saying stuff like this. Of course, when he was on playing against the Bills, we got down toward the goal line. And he was in the backfield, a couple plays, like pretending to, lining up as a fullback, running, maybe blocking or something like that. And then he got to that series. It was over. He gets on the sideline. I'm like, dude, I'm retired. That's it. So I don't know. I don't know. Is it Dable? Is it the fullback? Is it because he has to block? Is it New York sucks? Is it a combination of everything? Who knows? But obviously, I'm sure he just didn't want to either play for the Giants or he didn't want to play, for Dable, or maybe I don't know. Who knows? He caught some passes. He caught 50 something passes in 12 games. I mean, but he did not ask to come here. Right? We worked out a trade for him. Right? So hopefully he'll be happy in Miami, and I hope, I guess, for Miami's sake, I hope they don't put him in the backfield where he has to run and maybe block somebody, because then he might go running on the sideline, take his helmet off, and go, like, do it here. I'm retiring. So we will have to wait and see. But quite possibly, Plaxico seems to think that maybe Giants in New York maybe were not his cup of tea. Right? Darren Waller's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, provided some details on how the trade to Miami came together, and also a few tidbits on what happened with Jonnu Smith. Now, also, I hope, Jonnu Smith was not going to be an integral part of their offense. Because if Waller wanted to retire once, guess what? He might want to retire again. Right? He's been out of the game. He didn't play last year. Right? So he's been out of the game for a while. He missed like the last 5 games, I think it was, or somewhere. Was it the last 5? Or maybe he played. But he missed 5 games 2 years ago in 2020. He didn't play at all last year. So for him to come and just want to start playing football, I'll have to wait and see. But hope they traded Smith away. Hopefully he was not going to be an integral part of their offense, because if Waller decides to hang his cleats up and say bye-bye once again, Miami just gets screwed. But first I want to talk about Plaxico here, what he was talking about. Plaxico Burress shares theory on Darren Waller's New York Giants exit. I really honestly believe that. Waller has made a surprise return to the NFL after an unexpected trade saw him become the newest Miami Dolphin tight end. Retirements don't always stick in the NFL. Brett Favre's first retirement infamously lasted just a matter of months. Marshawn Lynch in 2016 retirement was followed by a 2017 comeback. Darren Waller's announced his retirement in 2024, seemingly bringing his career to an end after 9 seasons in the league. There had been speculated about a potential Waller return, but that all changed when the Dolphins pulled off a surprise trade. Waller will now play for Miami in 2025, with the Giants agreeing to a trade following the tight end's decision to return to the NFL. Plaxico Burress shares theory on Darren Waller's New York Giants exit. Waller was a wide receiver during his college days at Georgia Tech, but he did a lot of blocking. You don't go to Georgia Tech and, they run the ball a lot there, okay? But the Baltimore Ravens saw something in him and converted him to a tight end. A suspension saw Waller miss the 2017 season, but Baltimore waived him in September 2018, signing him to a practice squad. The Ravens signed Waller to just 2 months later, and he hasn't looked back. He racked up 2 1,000-plus receiving seasons. Waller recorded 107 receptions and 9 receiving touchdowns in 2020, establishing himself as one of the NFL's very best tight ends. The Raiders traded Waller to the Giants in 2023, less than a year after handing him a huge 3-year, $51 million contract. Waller's time in New York was short and sweet. He recorded 52 catches in 12 games for a total of 552 yards before he decided to hang up his cleats and retire. Now he's 32. Waller's back again. Plaxico Burress believes he knows why the retirement decision was made in the first place. Speaking on Up on Game, I don't know what podcast that is, Burgess suggested that Waller simply didn't want to play for the Giants head coach Brian Dable. Former Giants receiver Burress noted that Waller was often used as a fullback rather than as a tight end, which just isn't Waller's game. Burress feels Waller just wasn't in a good situation in New York, and he truly believes that Waller's retirement was in part down to not wanting to play for Dable with the Giants. Came to the Giants and they had him back there playing fullback, said Burress. You're a tight end. You're not built psychologically or mentally as a tight end to be running up up in the 2 and 4 hole, taking on middle linebackers and linemen. That's not how we are built as players. I think it had more to do with a lot of things that had going on outside of football as well. And I don't really think he wanted to be here in New York playing for Brian Dable. I really honestly believe that. It wasn't a good situation. Daniel Jones is a quarterback. They weren't using him as a tight end, which is what they brought him here for. He hated. So, I mean, that's I can understand that, And I said, he did not ask to come here. Right? Waller's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, provided some details on how the trade came together during his weekly appearance on weekly TV spot on a podcast. But Drew said, I got a phone call in the last week of June from Darren, and he said, Drew, I've decided that I want to play again. I miss football. The itch to play, the love of the game is back, and I'd like to play for the Miami Dolphins. Rosenhaus said of his conversation with Waller. Rosenhaus has to say that this about Waller drive to play again. It's his job. That said, this does line up with some of Waller's own comments about considering a comeback if he got to play for current Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith, who was Waller's tight ends coach with the Raiders. In a March interview with former Raider coach John Gruden, Waller laid out only the coaches he would consider making a comeback for. The only two people I would listen to, I will say, is you, John Gruden, and Frank Smith, Waller told Gruden. The only two people I would hear out and give them my ear. They got sports cars down there, man. Everybody down there runs a 4.3. Yeah, that's true. Waller's commitment to reuniting with Smith should at least inspire some confidence that he's 100% committed and healthy, despite doing numerous interviews this past year about how much football was weighing on him and his health. Tight end mentioned a hospital scare he had in the middle of 2023 season as a reason for stepping away. It was pretty clear I almost just lost my life, he said. Waller said in his YouTube video announcing his retirement last year. I don't know if I really feel like if I would have died, that it would have felt great about how my life was going. Then, of course, Rosenhaus also represents Smith. Rosenhaus' perspective on the odds between Smith and the Dolphins is inherently biased toward his client, but he did make a few interesting remarks on the topic. Rosenhaus said the Dolphins made the decision they were not going to do a new deal for Jonnu and allowed him to seek a trade instead of forcing him to play out the last year of his deal. Rosenhaus added that the Jalen Ramsey from Minkah Fitzpatrick swap might not have happened if the Dolphins weren't willing to include Smith. So, but, I wish the guy nothing but the best, but I mean that's quite possible. I mean, he did not ask to come here, and I guess maybe if he just totally 100% despised. I mean, he was not in the backfield 95% of the time. Now, how much he was, I haven't looked. PFF would have his position and all that, the breakdown and all that. I didn't look at that, but they're not going to have Darren Waller, playing fullback 95% of the time. That's just stone cold crazy. But apparently the percentage of times that they did have him back there, I guess, was just too much for Darren Waller. So he's got a lot going on up here. Right? I wish him nothing but the best, but there's nothing more evident than that to me anyway, that, he's married to Kelsey Plum or whatever. And then about 34 seconds later, they're divorced. And then about 25 seconds after that, he's putting a video out of him apparently getting stabbed in the back by her. And he's falling down dead on the beach, just laying there on the beach. I guess apparently there was supposed to be a knife in his back. So, I mean, you got some, to me, that's some issues. You got some issues up there. So, but wish him nothing but the best. But he's Miami's problem right now. So, but here's some good news here. Giants get a little bit of love. LT and 7 other Giants made Giants greats, making a unique NFL list. Now this is their drafting position list. Lawrence Taylor was voted the greatest number 2 pick of all time. I don't know who could be any better than him. You have the greatest defensive player of all time, right? Yeah. So, but 7 other Giants at their respective spots were voted the best picks of all time. So, we'll go over this article here. ESPN analyst Ben Solak dropped a very extensive and unique list on July 3rd, identifying the best player to be drafted at each slot in that order since the common draft era began in 1967. And 8 Giants made the cut, starting with the legendary pass rusher Lawrence Taylor in 1982. Determined that Taylor is the best number 2 overall selection throughout the NFL history, writing the best defensive player of all time is also the best second overall pick of all time. Taylor is one of the 2 defensive players to ever win the league MVP, and that rarefied air all but cements him over contenders such as Marshall Faulk, Julius Peppers, and Calvin Johnson. Taylor also took down a former Giants superstar turned rival and running back Saquon. Yeah, I mean, if Saquon got voted the greatest number 2 pick of all time, I'm not even talking about this article. This to be absolute just a total worthless piece of trash to me. But Lawrence Taylor is without question the greatest number 2 pick of all time. Modern contenders such as Von Miller, Saquon Barkley, and Nick Bosa are excellent in their time, but don't hold a candle to LT, who finished his 13-year career with 142 sacks, unofficial, because he only had like 132 and a half, or I think it was, right? That were official, because in 1981 the sacks were not official, right? After Taylor, 7 other Giant draft picks made Solak's list. Solak or Solik or Solax, I'm not exactly sure. But Giants pass rushers Michael Strahan and O.C. Umenyiora round out best New York Giant top 100 NFL draft picks. Giants' identity has always been a fearsome pass rush that lines up with their best top 100 NFL draft picks on the list. Along with Taylor, Strahan has been the best ever prospect taken at number 40 overall in 1993, and fellow defensive end O.C. Umenyiora as the best ever prospect taken at number 56 overall in 2003. It's almost like 10 years apart. 81 we took Taylor, 93 we took Strahan, 03 we took Umenyiora, right? Like every 10, right? Let's see here. The little 8-year-old Philadelphia Eagle fan in me still resents Strahan, who terrorized Donovan McNabb and my beloved Birds for years. So, like, wrote for the former. I really wanted to pick Thurman Thomas here, an MVP winner and running back whose number is retired in Buffalo. But Strahan's 22.5 sack season in 2001, his final season performance in the Giants' magical Super Bowl run, is just too tough to argue against. As for Umenyiora, he seemed to have less competition at number 56. Umenyiora wasn't consistently dominant, but his peaks made him the pick at number 56. In the 2007 Super Bowl season, Umenyiora was quieter in the postseason, but excellent in the regular season, with 13 sacks and a Pro Bowl. In the 2011 Super Bowl season, he was quieter in the regular season, but dominant in the playoffs. 3.5 sacks in 4 games. Now, he didn't have any sacks in the Super Bowl, but so he had 3.5 sacks in the 3 playoff games. Key roles in big seasons can make the difference in this exercise. Final Giants draft picks who made Solak's list. After the top 100 slots in the order, the Giants were given 5 more representatives. They were Hall of Fame linebacker Harry Carson, number 105 in 1976, 9-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion in 86, and of course a Hall of Famer. Right? 2006 Hall of Fame class. 2-time Super Bowl champion offensive lineman David Deal was picked number 160 in 2003. Goes to show you, we drafted Deal and we drafted Umenyiora in 2003. He made 1 Pro Bowl and started 171 games between the regular season and the postseason combined. 5-time Pro Bowler linebacker Jesse Armstead, picked number 207 in 93. So it goes to show you, in 93, we took Strahan and Armstead, 2 beasts. As Armstead, what a pick. At pick 207. He earned one All-Pro honor and logged 41 half-career sacks and 68 tackles for a loss since the stat started being recorded in 1999. Super Bowl champion wide receiver David Tyree was number 211 in 2003. Another 2003 pick, right? Yor, Tyree, and Deal, who he made one Pro Bowl, is truly remembered for his famed Super Bowl catch. Super Bowl champion Billy Ard, pick number 221 in 1981. Benson, Ard, Oates, Godfrey, and Nelson, 1986. That's the Fab Five. Benson, Ard, Oates, Godfrey, and Nelson. Boom! Billy Ard started 130 NFL games for the Giants and the Packers, including the playoffs. Notably, 3 of the Giants on Solak's list were drafted in 2003. 2 of them were drafted in 1993, and another 2 were selected in 1881, making those 3 of Big Blue's best draft classes of all time. Yeah. The 2005 was a really good one, too. I mean, we only had 4 picks, but 3 of them were home runs. Actually, 3 of them were grand slams. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. But, the Giants, that's not too bad. We've had 8 in the common draft there. So you figure there's 32 teams, and we've had 8 of the 200 and some odd picks. I mean, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I mean, without question, the Giants, every team does. Every team has good picks, and every team has bad picks. But the Giants have had their fair share of good ones. And actually to wind up drafting the greatest defensive player of all time is pretty special. I can't argue with that. Lawrence Taylor being the greatest number 2 of all time. No argument here. Now, good boy. Now, one of the biggest questions, it's obviously this year, is going to be the health of the offensive line. Can we get anything resembling an offensive line? And if we can these guys stay healthy and stay together and work as a unit and build? I mean, last year, the first 5-6 games that we were healthy, the offensive line, before Andrew Thomas went down, and then the wheels just started falling off the bus, and season was all over, because we were like 2-3 at one point, and then we went from 2-3 to 3-14. Right? So once the offensive line went downhill, started our season. And of course, one of the big, huge ones, of course, can he ever stay healthy ever again? It's amazing how just some guys can't stay healthy, and other guys, year in and year out, just have no problem staying healthy. It is simply amazing. But, I mean, again, the last 2 seasons is nothing but injuries that have totally derailed the season. Right? I mean, 2 years ago, it was like 42 seconds into the first game of the season. He's running downfield. Bam! There goes his hamstring. The whole season's over. Forget about it. Even when he came back, he probably still wasn't 100%. It was like, right? And then last year, he got injured again. So, but he's not making any promises for week 1 return. But, that's his goal. Going to be interesting to see during the training camp, right? Is he just on the sideline? Does he get in there at all? We'll have to wait and see, But this is going to be one of those things, the Andrew Thomas watch. Okay. All right, where are we at here? All right, he's making no promises, though, about returning for week 1. But that is his goal. When he's on the field, left tackle Andrew Thomas is one of the NFL's best. There's no question about that. Not the best, not top 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, but he's in the top 5 or so when he's on and he's at his best and he's healthy. Right? However, he's been limited to just 16 games over it. That means he's missed 18 games in the past 2 seasons, including just 6 games in 2024 after suffering a dreaded Liz Frank injury. Thomas underwent surgery in October and missed the majority of the team's off-season workout program, including all the on-field drills and practices. Now, the one thing is that, you kind of look at it like, right, is that the injury happened kind of early last year. As it says here, had surgery in October. The surgery wasn't late December. It wasn't after the season was over, toward the end of January or something like that. No, it was back in October. So by the time the regular season starts, it'll be September. It'll be 11 months since he's had the surgery. So keep your fingers crossed, right? Full recovery following a surgery can take anywhere between 6 months and a year, which is why Thomas makes no promises about returning in week 1, although that would very much remains the goal. I'm feeling good, just taking my time with it. Don't really have a projection right now, but doing everything that the trainers are telling me, and hopefully I am ready to go. Thomas told the Giants Huddle podcast, week 1 is the goal, but we try not to make any predictions, just trying to get ready. Thomas knew he suffered a serious injury when it happened, but he admits he was hard-headed and tried to stick it out. After Thomas landed on injury reserve, the offensive line, which had played admirably to that point, began to crumble. Things rapidly went downhill after that, and the unit ended the season on an ugly note. See, that's the one thing. It's it's so difficult to replace somebody like him. But that's also what you can't have. Well, tell you what, we can be good, but and I'm not even talking about a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like if Patrick Mahomes would get injured, well, I might put a little chink in the armor of the Chiefs. You know, if certain guys get injured, it might be hard for them to cut. You know what I mean? Jane Daniels gets injured for the Commanders or Redskins, whatever they're going to want to call them. So, I mean, but this not even not even a quarterback. This is an offensive lineman, right? And it's like, well, I might have a good season, but if Andrew Thomas gets injured, man, we're screwed. You know, you can't have that. You got to have somebody who can go in there and do a decent job. But a lot of times the Giants have a hard enough time putting 5 guys on the field that can do a good job, much less having guys who are backups that can do it. You know. Although General Manager Joe Shane has added some depth at each position, yes, he has, the starting 5 is projected to be the same in 2025. Thomas believes that continuity will help, but that's assuming he's also on the field. If not, the Giants will begin the season without a key piece. And that's the last thing they need, given the difficulty of it. Yeah, because if he misses, I say, the first 4 games, I mean, he could be walking on the field week 5, the Giants are 0-4. Right? Thomas still has 2 months to recover and rehab before the games count, and that would put him at roughly 11 months post-surgery. So, it's possible. It's possible. It'll be 11 months. Now, all injuries are different. Now, they say a lot of times, like with an ACL, right? You tear your ACL. A lot of times you can come back within 10 months or whatever, but you never fully recover until they say a lot of times till like year 2. And they say sometimes in that second year, you're as good, if not better, than you were before you got injured. Now, with this Liz Frank injury, that I don't know. I mean, it's, maybe, once he recovers from it, you're good to go. It's not like, well, wait a year, maybe the second year will be better. I don't know for sure. But let's hope, right, the injury, and let's hope too, right, possibly that if he's not being hard-headed like he was last year, which is what he said he was, he's like, oh, just injured myself. I'm still playing. You know what I mean? And make things even worse, maybe. So let's hope if something does happen this year, it's not as bad, and maybe he might just wind up missing a small amount of time or something. But he is certainly, without question, one of the big, question this season. Can he actually stay healthy? So because the past, as I said, the past 2 seasons, he has missed 18 games. Is this going to be? Is this going to be something that's just going to keep happening? Let's hope not. We're going to have to start looking for another tackle. But I guess we can do that in the draft next year. But we really stink because we did draft ourselves a really, really good tackle. But Your best ability is your availability, and you can't make the club in the tub. So keep your fingers crossed, because hopefully our best offensive lineman come back, and he's key to the offense. He's the best offensive lineman. If we got him on the field, and I got a left tackle doing what he does best, that's going to be our best shot for victory. Doesn't matter how many sacks the defense gets or nothing like that. I mean, if our offensive line just stinks, it could be another long season. And speaking of possibly having a long season, we're up to my next point. Now, in this article here, I read, Jackson Dart's first start already, is it penciled in already? Well, according to this article, it might be. And the reason why is because the guy says the Giants are in for a long season. Now, once they get out of the gates, and they're after, I can't remember if they're like 8, 9, 10 weeks into the season or something like that. It says this article, they're pretty much out of it because of their tough schedule. They're not very good and all that stuff and everything. So the season's over with, right? They pull out Russell Wilson, insert Jackson Dart. So we will have to wait and see, but it's possible. I mean, you don't want it to be, but it's possible. We'll go over their schedule, because it's not easy. Yeah, there's that's a win. Yeah, up, that's another one. Oh yeah, they got 3 more wins. You know. Jackson Dart may already have his debut date circled on the Giants' calendar. When can we expect Jackson Dart to hit the field this year? Entering the 2025 season, there is one thing on every New York Giants fan's mind this season. When will we see Jackson Dart make his NFL debut? Despite signing Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal and Jameson Winston to a 2-year deal during the offseason, the G-Men shocked the world when they traded up in the draft to select Dart with the 25th overall pick. After 6 mediocre years with Daniel Jones at the helm, there has been a ton of excitement surrounding Dart, thanks to the solid collegiate career he put together at Ole Miss and the clear upside he brings as talent. Even though Brian Daboll has already stated Wilson will be New York's starting quarterback on opening day, fans would certainly love to see Dart sooner rather than later in the hopes he can be their starting franchise signal caller. But when would be an ideal time for his first start? Aha! Giants expected to hand keys to Dart after season slips away. In an article for Giants on SI, Alex House predicted that Big Blue's Week 11 matchup against Green Bay Packers will be the game when Dart makes his highly anticipated debut. House's analysis centers around how far back the Giants will be in the NFC East late in the season, stating, therefore, it is reasonable to assume that a quarterback change will be made if and when New York falls behind in the NFC standings, House wrote. Losing week after week would force Giants management to see co-owner John Manners' approval via another way. An impressive showing by a rookie signal caller might do the trick. Yes, that's true, to keep their jobs. Right? With the Giants facing the NFL's toughest strength of schedule, it wouldn't be a surprise if they had another rough season on their hands. If the G-Men are out of the playoff picture by week 11, that could be the perfect time for Dart to get his first taste of the NFL action. Now, their bye week isn't until late. I think it's week 14 or something like that. Yeah, week 14. The only one thing about that week 14 bye week, right, would be if we were still in the playoff hunt, then only toward the end of the season, you have a week off to maybe get some bumps and bruises a little healed up in time for that playoff push. But he's saying week 11. So he's kind of saying that quite possibly by that point in time, the Giants might be like 3-7, maybe 2-8 or something like that. With 7 games, if we're 2-8, and we got 7 games left to go in the season, right? Even if we won all 7, we'd only be 9-8. Still probably not make the playoffs. So, right? If we're 3-7, we got 7 games left to go. I mean, how many of those final 7 games do you think we're going to wind up winning? Maybe 3 of them. We still finished 5. But so to put Dart in there and just to get a little ray of hope, right, for the fans, the fan base, the management, the owners, and all that stuff. And say, I'll tell you what, this past the last couple of games, he came on. I don't know. I saw a little don't get too carried away. So a little bit of Eli in there. I don't know. We might have ourselves here something. And it's like, well, we got to bring back the same guys who are teaching them this season. Got to bring them back for next season. Got to keep them with Dart. See what's going on. So, all right, where we at here? Okay. New York is counting on Dart to pan out, and at some point during the season, he's going to have to start in the live games. While Wilson brings far more upside than what the Giants have had at quarterback in recent years, he's not the future. And if the Giants are nowhere near a playoff spot by week 11 or so, that seems like the right time for Dart to suit up. Yep. All right, so now if we look here, right? I mean, you look at the schedule. Now, once again, I can't stand, because I've drank the Kool-Aid before too. Like the past couple of years, I'm saying, like, after we were 9-7-1, I'm like, what, man, we should win at least another game. We should be at least 10-7. I mean, we should be hovering right around there. I mean, we drafted well. We got some better players. We were 9-7-1. We should be better. We went backwards. And after we were 6-11, right? I'm like, man, we got better. We drafted. We should we got rid of Saquon, but we should be at least 6 wins. Nope, 3 wins. It's like, what the? So we're going backwards. So I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid before, thinking, oh no, we should be better. We should be good, and we wound up stinking. So. But, I mean, if you look right off the bat here, right, we're playing the Washington and we're playing Dallas. Now, with any luck last year, we could have beaten Washington at least one of those times, right? One of these times, we've got to beat the Cowboys. I mean, they are not a good football team. Just straight up, they're just not a good football team. You figure just by luck, somewhere along the line, ball's going to bounce our way against Dallas, or going to get a bad call against Dallas or something, and just something's going to happen where the Giants are just going to get lucky. I'm not saying we're beating the Eagles in either one of these games, but somewhere along we actually got to beat the Cowboys. I mean, because they're not a good team, really. Right? I'm not saying they're going to win 2 games, but I mean they're not. We're not talking Super Bowl contenders here, okay? It just seems like each year they seem like they just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Right? So we're playing Washington and Dallas, right? But then we got to play Kansas City. We got to play, Kansas City and the Chargers are both at home. And I said, when we played Washington last year in Washington, if we actually had a kicker, we probably would have won that game, right? But we got to play Kansas City and Los Angeles, the Chargers at home, right? Then we got to play in New Orleans. Now, they don't have a quarterback or a real solid good one, right? So, right, then we got to play the Eagles. So you can pretty much forget about that. We haven't beat the Eagles since Jesus Christ walked the earth. I don't see the Giants ever beating the Eagles ever again. So that's a loss. Then we got to play in Denver. Now, what Denver did last season was pretty good, right? So it should have a very good team. Now we're going to be playing out in Denver. So then, of course, somewhere along the line, I don't know why. It's amazing. We're playing the Eagles 2 times in 3 weeks. I don't know, but at least thankfully we'll be getting them over with and over and done with. So that's another loss. Then we're playing San Francisco. Now, if San Francisco can actually stay healthy, they got themselves a great coach and they got themselves a really good team. They lost some guys this year, but they still, with Shanahan as the coach, if they can stay healthy, unlike last year, they were not able to stay healthy, them and the Lions, right? Beating the 49ers is going to be tough. Then we're playing Chicago. You don't know about that, right? So, we could maybe have 3 wins, maybe 4 wins out of those first 10 games. I don't know if we're 4-6. Do you pull the plug on the season? Because then we have Green Bay at home. Then we have to play in Detroit. Then we have to play in New England now. So I don't know. Yeah. Then we have to play Washington at home. Then we got to play Minnesota at home. Then we got to play out in Vegas. Then we got to play the last game of the year is in Dallas. So yeah, between New England, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Vikings, Detroit, Green Bay. There's some tough games there as well too. So once again, I don't see how many games the Giants are going to wind up winning. But it's a good point. It's a good point there. Maybe possibly week 11. I said if we're 3-7, the final 7 games, would we win all 7 games? No, it's not happening. Yeah, even when we 6-1, we started 3-7, and we started 6, and we ended 6-1 by some miracle of God. We'd be 9-8, and I don't even know if we would make the playoffs. So it's going to be one of those. It's a tricky situation, it really is, because you got guys giving their heart and souls. You got these veterans and all that. And you basically you got to go in there and tell them basically a little bit more than halfway through the season, we're pulling the plug on the season, guys. Sorry, season's over. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to the playoffs. We're going to put the back, put our hopefully future quarterback in there and see what he can do. Right, so this season's over with. So it's pretty tough. So it's a tricky situation, but be interesting to see. When Dart does wind up getting in there, because it's probably. More and more you hear, right? It's not a question if, it's a question of when Dart gets put in there. There's something the Giants do need to clean up, right? An eye-opening stat that the Giants must clean up. Now, I guess you can kind of figure by looking at the little yellow flag there, talking about penalties. Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. An eye-opening stat details concerning trend New York Giants must clean up from last season. A new analysis reveals that the Giants struggled with keeping penalties under control. As if the 2024 New York Giants didn't have enough trouble on both sides of the ball with scoring and stopping opponents from scoring, their lack of disciplined play, which manifested itself in penalties, didn't exactly help matters. According to a new study by Joe Gibbs of Sharp Football Analysis, the Giants received a C grade in the penalty department, giving their split results in that area between home game and road games. He pointed out that while the Giants ranked 23rd on offense and 28th on defense in penalties per game at home, they finished as a top 5 penalized road team. And their offense in particular accounted for 60% of the team's penalties, with 50% of those infractions coming pre-snap. Yeah. Half of their snaps came pre-snap. Wow. That's horrible. Want yet another eye-opening stat? According to NFL's data, the Giants had 41 stalled drives last season as a result of penalties. 41. But the best 17, 41, that's about 2.5 a game. So basically every 2 games they had 5 drives stalled because of penalties. Every 2 games they had 5, or like 2.5 a game. I mean that is huge, because when you talk, the Giants, obviously did a horrible job in 1-score games last year. What were they, 1-9 or 1-10 or 1-8 or whatever it was? Horrible. But, it's just a 1 score. Right? Who knows on those drives when a penalty derails them, right, on the offensive side, right? Was that the drive that maybe the Giants would have got down the field, maybe kicked the field goal, maybe tied the game up, or maybe someone scored a touchdown to send the game? You don't know. Penalties. Oh, they'll get you. Let's see. According to NFLpenalties.com, Giants ranked above the league average in 15 different penalty categories last season, with the 3 most notable ones being illegal shift, delayed game, and false start. Wow. Does it bring me up to this chart here? Does it show? Oh, there we go. Wow. New York Giants have played 17 games. The rank columns refer to overall league rank for that type of penalty. Offsetting and decline penalties are listed in the dismissed column, but are otherwise ignored. Wow. False start. Yeah. Let's see what we have. League average. False start 26. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. And he goes all the way back to 2009. Wow. That's crazy. 2009. Total count. I only had 4 penalties. Wow. Interesting. Huh. That's cool. Very interesting article. Let me see here. Is there any more to this here? Yes, there is. Okay. Let's see here. Gibbs data further revealed that instead of eliminating penalties early, the Giants recorded most of their penalties in the fourth quarter of games last season. League-wide, NFL teams were flagged 940 times, according to NFLpenalties.com, in the fourth quarter. The second most penalized quarter, beyond only the second quarter. That was 1,079. The Giants recorded 35 fourth quarter penalties, or 26.1 of their total penalty count last season. While this is not an excuse for sloppy, undisciplined play, it's worth noting that last year the Giants began the season with the fourth youngest roster. So, average roster was 25.7, a factor that might have lent itself to some of the sloppy play, which is true. One thing is, you got, it's exciting to have a young roster, but, there's the good and the bad. Right? You're going to get some good play, but you're going to get some head scratch. You're going to get some plays that get blown coverages, blown plays, and you're going to get maybe some penalties. So that's a possibility. As injuries piled up to the point where the starters had to be replaced by even younger, less experienced players, that could explain why from week 8 onward, the Giants recorded 76 of their 134 total penalties on the year, with 4 games resulting in double-digit penalty flags. Yeah, so that's another one of the things, though. Right? The good news is that, as of now, the Giants are projected to have one of the oldest starting lineups in the league, 25.78, which, while not taking into consideration the entire age of the Week 1 roster, which, of course, still needs to be sorted out over the next month and a half, should hopefully lend itself to more disciplined play, particularly when it matters most. So they're supposed to have one of the oldest starting lineups, but still, I don't. Yeah, let me see here. They're supposed to have one of the oldest projected starting lineups. Wow. Yeah, but they're not even, it doesn't even average. This contrast between youthful energy and vital experience leans on the older side. Judging the recent data, the Giants have the 11th oldest squad in the NFL based on the average age of the projected starters for the season. The 11th oldest. So, do they have it here? Here we go. Average age of the starters by team. Okay. The Commanders are the oldest at 27. The Packers are the youngest, 24.8. Interesting. The Giants are, the 11th oldest, 25.78. But 25.78. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the second youngest team, and their projected starters they're 25 exactly years old. The Giants are the 11th oldest, and they're 25.78. So we're not talking, it's not like the Jaguars are the second youngest, and their team is 3 years old, and the Giants are 87 years old, where there's a huge gap now. We're talking less than a year. What we're talking about here, okay, from the Jaguars, who are the second youngest, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. to the Lions, who are the 27th, or the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who are the sixth oldest. From the second youngest to the sixth oldest is only less than a year. The Jaguars, who are the second youngest, are 25 years of age, exactly on the dot. The projected star is 25. The Lions, who are the 27th or the sixth oldest team, their projected starters are 25.84. So to go from 2 to 27, we're talking less than a year average. So it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I mean that could be one of those things, right? That certainly could be one of those things, without question. Because you got young players go in there, and sometimes obviously things happen. Blown coverages, missed assignments, whatever, penalties. Then you start getting a bunch of injuries, and you get a bunch of guys who maybe haven't played much before or whatever on the field, and things happen for a reason, right? So, but that's certainly something the Giants could use to clean up. And finally here, now, have you ever saw the movie Jaws? There's this one scene there where Roy Schneider, the guy, he's the police chief, I think, of the town where Jaws is at. And he's out there on a boat, and he's shoveling his stuff into the water to try to attract a shark. And he winds up attracting Jaws. And he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Yeah, you want to try to shovel some of this SHI blank in the water? And it's I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's fish and stuff like, but there's blood too, and you can see it being thrown into the water, and there's blood and stuff. He's shoveling stuff in there, and there's blood and all that. And finally, all of a sudden, Jaws actually pops his head up out of the water. And Roy winds up turning around and looking, and he sees Jaws, and then he steps up, he steps back, and you just see a picture of him. He's just like, he's got the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Then he walks back into the boat where Robert Shaw is at. God rest his soul. He walks in there, and he says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." So that's where the saying comes from. It comes from Jaws. Giants going to need a bigger boat. Now, apparently, according to this article, the media is throwing a bunch of hate against the Giants. They're still not convinced, shall we say, what the Giants are doing. Right? And hey, I understand. Right, it's a show me. What have you done for me lately, Lee? Right, So, if you don't win, hey, right, you don't deserve any kudos or any attaboys and all like that, right? So, what have you done for me lately? If you start winning some games and this, that, and the other thing, well, then maybe people start talking a little bit nicer about you. But once again, it's just this words. Who the heck cares? But Giants are obviously going to need a bigger boat, right? Need a bigger boat to escape the endless waves of media doubt, wave after wave after wave. So, you got to show me, what can you do, right? Show me the victory. I love the money. Show me the money. Show me the victories, and we won't doubt you anymore, right? This offseason has been a trying time for the Giants fans. On one hand, the team has undergone extensive roster renovations to be more competitive. On the other hand, it feels unlikely the reshuffling will play a significant role in winning for the upcoming season. It's not an enviable position to be in, but it's the only one Big Blue Nation's got. So we do the best we can with what we have, and we preserve. Persevere. My bad. Not preserve. Persevere. Two of their biggest weaknesses from last season underwent total overhauls with their quarterback and defensive back unit. New York's notable changes include Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, Javon Holland, Paulson, and Debo. Let's not forget potential Defensive Rookie of the Year favorite Abdul Carter. That's right. See, it's one thing when you win 3 games, you get somebody like Abdul Carter. You win a year before, you win 6 games, you get somebody like Malik Neighbors. Right? That's a lot of good coming in to help this team. But to no fault of their own, not everyone is convinced they'll make a lick of difference for a team coming off its worst season in franchise history. In a recent article for Bleacher Report, Moton predicted which teams would finish last in their respective division. To likely no one's surprise, the feeding frenzy continued. Moton pegged the G-Men as chum for the NFC East. Yes, more nautical puns. Giants doubt has been a recurring theme this offseason. It's not without its merits, but the waves are becoming relentless. Giants predicted to be bottom feeders in loaded NFC East. Another day, another analysis dismissing Big Blue. Another analyst dismissing Big Blue is begrudgingly accurate, and Moton's analysis hits the nail on the head. He points to factors outside of the Giants' control, outlining one of the most unfavorable positions to be in the National Football League. One asks the question if the Giants can outduel opponents in their division. Their rivals have dynamic quarterbacks like Dak Prescott and Jaden Daniels, or a signal caller who has posted gaudy passing numbers in multiple seasons like Dak Prescott, Moton wrote. Outside the NFC East, the Giants will face arguably two of the NFL's best divisions, the NFC North and the AFC West. Even with the addition of edge rusher Abdul Carter, cornerback Paulson Adebo, and safety Javon Holland, New York's defense may not be able to keep up with the level of competition on its schedule. Giants improved their roster this offseason, but it won't amount to much because of a tough schedule. There's no real argument to be made against his interpretation. It's hard to argue, right? On paper, this season already looks like a lost cause. Fortunately, games aren't played on paper. Thank goodness, right? They're played on the field, giving the G-Men at the very least a fighting chance to pull off the improbable. The schedule looks like a gauntlet. The football gods did not do them any favors. However, this team is vastly improved from last year. That has to amount to something. It's fair to question whether the Giants are built to survive this kind of storm. But for all the waves of doubts crashing down, this version of Big Blue feels sturdier than the one that sank a year ago. It's not the prettiest ship, and it surely isn't invincible, but it's patched up, tougher, and heading back out whether anyone believes in them or not, because it has to. Maybe they do need a bigger boat, or maybe this one's just ready to fight. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But, I mean, that's one of those things, start winning some games, right? You start winning some games, and boy, I'll tell you what, magical things start happening. Show me the victories, and then we'll start. We'll start. If they didn't have the toughest schedule, you might see another game or two maybe going there. I mean, because they're supposed to win like 5.5 games or so. So projected. Well, if they had an easier schedule, played against a couple of the easier divisions, they might be scheduled on maybe 7 games. Yeah. So if there were 7-10 this year, instead of 3-14, well, that's a step forward. But once again, you can't blame the media or anything like that for talking bad about the Giants. I mean, they were 9-7-1. They had 9 wins. Then they had 6 wins. Then they had 3 wins. The problem is each year they keep going down 3 wins. So if they had 3 wins last season and they're supposed to go down another 3 wins, they're going to go 0-17? Boy, I hope not. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 34 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. If anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo! Oh, yeah.